Hey everyone, welcome back to Metta Minutes with Caroline. That's me. Thank you all again so much for liking and subscribing to these videos. It means a whole lot to me and I'm just really grateful that you all are here. This channel would not be what it is without you all. So I have been doing a series of answering questions that I have received or questions that I myself have asked with relation to metta or loving kindness practice. So today I want to talk about that feeling of, I'm doing this practice and nothing's happening. I was told that I was going to get warm, fuzzy feelings, and I don't feel anything. My relationships aren't getting better. My first answer to this, and this has just been, I'm just going to speak from my own experience here, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes we do a practice and we feel like nothing is happening. It's sort of like watching paint dry. You're sitting there for hours and hours over time, and it just looks like nothing's happening. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it needs to be like that for a little while. And then all of a sudden, the next thing we know, the paint has dried. All of a sudden, the next thing we know, oh, I was checking out at the grocery store and I had a really nice interaction with the cashier and it felt more authentic and genuine than it usually feels. Was that a part of my practice? That's been my experience. My second answer to that is keep going, especially when it doesn't feel like anything's happening. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If you can sit with that maybe sense of boredom or uncertainty and kind of move through it, that works. And just keep practicing. And maybe my third answer to this is change up your practice. So I'm sitting here, nothing's happening, and I've been really focusing on the person who's bringing challenge and conflict into my life and I don't feel good. Switch it up. Send metta to yourself today. Send metta to the easy people. Maybe you're in a situation where you don't feel like there are easy people. Imagine your favorite kind of animal, a cute puppy dog or a kitten, a little baby. Send metta to them. For me, getting started with this practice was actually with the neutral people. I would just look out my window and watch people go by. And I've shared this in other videos. If you look at my video for metta to the neutral person, and I would watch them walking until they reached the other window pane, and I would see how many times I could send them a wish to be happy and healthy and safe and live with ease before they went out of my line of sight or before someone else came, and then I would transfer the metta to them. So it's okay to switch up your practice after a while if you notice that it's not working. One thing I would say with that is, if you have sat 5 minutes one time and you said this doesn't work, try sitting a little bit longer. Try doing 5 minutes every day for a week. Try increasing that time after a week from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Stick with a practice for at least 2 weeks before you decide that it's not useful for you. Otherwise, the result is kind of like digging a bunch of shallow holes, expecting a deep well. You actually have to stick with it for a little bit of time to see the final results. But also, this was my experience for a very long time. I wasn't feeling sort of the warmth, the goodness that people talk about with a metta practice, or I didn't think that I was. That was the other thing, was in a way maybe I wasn't sensitized to it. I wasn't tuning enough into myself. So sometimes you'll hear me in my instructions to you of notice if your body is starting to relax. Notice if there's a shift in your mental state. That's getting you to tune into these more subtle kinds of shifts that are happening along with this practice. The more that you do it, the more consistently that you go with it. But it's also perfectly okay to not experience the warm fuzzies at first. It can be normal. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. Just stick with it. Even if you were doing it by rote and just almost in a robotic way, it doesn't mean that there isn't goodness happening. The purpose of this is to change ourselves, to change our relationships to ourselves and to others so that we can live in more harmony in the communities that we live and work in. And so again, it's maybe like I don't know how many knitters are out there. I happen to be one. But if I'm knitting one stitch and say, well, I don't have a sweater yet, well, of course I don't. I knit one stitch. And even after I've knit rows and rows and rows and I've knit hours and hours and hours, I still might not have a sweater. But it starts to look a little bit more like a sweater the longer that I do it and the more consistently I practice. Until one day, I have a warm fuzzy sweater. Until one day in my Metta practice, I'm feeling those warm fuzzies. So if you can't sit still, if you can't empty your mind, if you're not getting those warm fuzzies, sometimes it's like that. Keep practicing. And after a while, maybe switch up your practice, and that's what you need. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thanks for watching these videos. Until next time, friends.